Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. Get ready for an exciting story of transformation and overcoming challenges. Today, you will discover a journey that shows how pain, when channeled properly, can be the force that drives us to great changes. This video brings a powerful lesson about friendship, resilience, and life purpose that you won't want to miss. So, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to stay updated on content that inspires and moves you. And, let us know in the comments which city you are watching from. Let's get started. What happens when pain becomes a fuel for change? This question echoed in my mind as I watched Seattle, a city that once brought me comfort, now shrouded in a veil of sadness. My name is Marin Ellery, and after a tragic accident that left my mother quadriplegic, I felt as if the world around me had crumbled. The vibrant colors of the city faded, and I found myself trapped in a maze of despair, unsure of how to find my way out. Life, which once seemed full of possibilities, now left me with only uncertainties and a pain that felt unbearable. My routine had become a shadow of what I used to be. Each day was marked by an internal struggle between the desire to move forward and the weight of my sorrow. I walked the streets, listening to the noise of cars and remembering the accident that changed everything. The laughter, smiles, and interactions that once filled my day now felt distant, as if I were watching life from the outside, unable to participate. I questioned my identity, my purpose, as if every step I took was towards an abyss. It was then that Sorrel, my longtime friend, stepped in like a light in the darkness. She had always been an emotional anchor for me, and at that moment, her presence was exactly what I needed. "Marin, your pain can transform into something greater," she said, and those words ignited a spark within me. I knew I needed a purpose, something that would pull me out of apathy and reconnect me to the world. That's how I decided to dedicate myself to traffic safety, because that could prevent other families from experiencing the same pain I was facing. However, this new path would not be easy. Every step I took was accompanied by doubts and criticism. I questioned whether I was really capable of making a difference. At one of my first community meetings, I met Lisa, a nurse who, with her kindness and wisdom, reminded me of the importance of self-care. She always told me that to help others, I first needed to take care of myself. These interactions were crucial in helping me start rebuilding my confidence and realizing that I was not alone in my struggle. My days became a roller coaster of emotions. The pain was still present, but now there was a new hope. I dreamed of creating a network of support and empathy among people, where everyone could share their stories of loss and overcoming challenges. This desire materialized in a community event I organized, a safe space for people to open up. The atmosphere was charged with emotion, and as I listened to the stories of others, I realized the depth of the impact that stories can have on people's lives. It was in that moment that my vision expanded, and I understood that my pain could transform into a source of inspiration. Every story I heard strengthened me and connected me more to others. I discovered that true strength lay not only in saving lives but in building relationships that promote empathy and solidarity. The constant support from Sorrel and others around me made me realize that even in small victories, there was a transformative power. The messages of gratitude I received from people touched by my story became fuel to continue. The journey was not without challenges. I faced moments of discouragement and uncertainty, but with each obstacle, I reminded myself of the purpose I had found. A significant event was approaching, and I knew it would be an opportunity to showcase the impact of my work. When I finally managed to gather a group of people willing to listen and share, I felt that my life was gaining new meaning. It was as if every story told there was a brick in the construction of a new future, not just for me, but for all of us. Reflecting on this journey, I realized that my life is now connected to something greater. My pain, which once imprisoned me, has transformed into a symbol of hope and resilience. I have learned that even amidst suffering, there is always a possibility of rebirth. I am ready to continue this journey, not only to find healing for my own pain but to help others find the strength to move forward. In every step, in every shared story, I see the light that ignites, and that gives me the certainty that my life now has a purpose worth pursuing. As I walked through the streets of Seattle, a city that now felt more like a shadow than a home, I felt the weight of pain accompanying me with every step. The accident that irrevocably altered my mother's life was not just a tragedy, it was a turning point. What once brought me joy and hope was now a constant reminder of loss. This left me confused, with a sense of helplessness that seemed to engulf me. Sorrel's presence was like a balm amid this internal storm. She always had a way of bringing light and clarity in moments of darkness. "Marin, you don't have to carry this burden alone," she once said as we sat in a cafe, the aroma of fresh coffee mingling with the distant sounds of the city. I remembered how, before, our conversations were filled with laughter and dreams. Now, they were laden with tears and heavy silences. "But what if I can't make a difference?" I asked, my voice trembling. "What if all of this is in vain?" Sorrel looked into my eyes, and I saw determination reflected in them. "Change begins with a step," she replied. "And every step you take can inspire others to do the same." That conversation planted a seed of hope in me, but doubts still lingered. I decided then to throw myself headfirst into the cause of road safety. It was something that held deep meaning for me, and I wanted my pain to transform into something that could help others. But as soon as I began to get involved, I realized the journey was far from easy. At one of the first community meetings, the tension was palpable. I was nervous, my hands sweating as I tried to articulate my ideas. It was in this environment that I met Lisa, the nurse. She had a warm smile, and her presence was reassuring, but at the same time, she didn't hesitate to challenge me. "Marin, you need to understand that you can't help others if you don't take care of yourself first," she told me. That statement resonated within me, highlighting a truth I already knew but didn't want to accept. I was so focused on helping others that I forgot to look at my own suffering. The meetings turned into an emotional battleground. I was fighting against my fears and insecurities while trying to be the voice of change. "What do you really hope to achieve?" one of the participants asked during a heated discussion. Their doubt hit me like a punch in the stomach. I just want other people not to go through what we went through," I replied, feeling my vulnerability expose my heart. But the truth was that I wasn't sure if it was enough. As time went on, I realized that my interactions with others reflected my own insecurities. Every critique, every question made me feel smaller. In a moment of despair, I confided in Sorrel, "Maybe I should give up. Maybe I don't have what it takes." She held my hands and looked into my eyes. "Giving up is not an option, Marin. You are making a difference, even if you don't see it. The struggle is part of the process." Still, the feeling of inadequacy persisted. I felt like an imposter, unable to lead the movement I so desired. Doubts became shadows that followed me, and I continuously questioned my motivations. "I'm just a girl who lost her mother," I thought. "What do I know about changing the world?" These reflections created a vicious cycle of self-criticism that left me even more paralyzed. Then I decided to organize a community event to share stories. The idea was to create a space where people could open up about their experiences and find comfort in one another. However, as I prepared for the event, I was hit by a wave of anxiety. What if no one showed up? What if people didn't care? These questions haunted me up until the day. As I looked at the empty hall before the participants arrived, doubt intensified. But as people began to arrive, the atmosphere changed. Each shared story was a piece of the puzzle that made up the human experience. I listened to tales of pain, loss, and ultimately, overcoming. What seemed like an event to help others transformed into therapy for me. I realized that while my pain was unique, the experience of suffering was universal. After that day, the dynamics of my interactions changed. I was no longer alone. Every new friend I met, every story I heard, gave me strength to continue. The internal struggle still existed, but now I had a clear purpose. The support of Sorrel, Lisa, and others encouraged me to face my insecurities. Over time, I learned that true strength was not in being perfect, but in being authentic and vulnerable. Yet the challenges did not cease. The tension between the pursuit of success and personal relationships intensified. My commitment to the cause demanded time and energy, and I realized it was affecting my friendship with Sorrel. In a moment of frustration, she said, "Marin, I'm here to support you, but I also need you. Don't lose yourself in this fight." That conversation was a wake-up call. I needed to find a balance between my mission and the people I loved. The journey was filled with ups and downs, but each obstacle taught me something new. I was learning to deal with my limitations and accepting that change wouldn't happen overnight. Life lessons began to intertwine with my story, and I realized that true overcoming was a continuous process. One day at a time, I got up, facing fear and pain, and increasingly found the strength within me to move forward. As I tried to balance activism and personal life, the pressure began to accumulate like a heavy burden on my shoulders. Days dragged on, and I found myself constantly involved in meetings, planning sessions, and events. The cause that once brought me hope was now becoming a source of stress. With each new task, I felt my energy waning and the weight of responsibility growing. The first signs of exhaustion appeared discreetly. I caught myself waking up in the middle of the night, reliving moments from meetings, the words of support, and at the same time, the critical glances. The question echoed in my mind, do you really think you can change anything? It planted seeds of doubt that I tried to ignore. I wanted to be strong, but the truth was that I felt increasingly vulnerable. My friendship with Sorrel began to suffer. She was always by my side, but the intensity of my commitment to the cause pushed her away. One night, while we were at a cafe, she finally opened up. "Marin, I feel like you're drifting away. I'm not just your friend, I'm part of who you are. Don't forget that." Her words hit me like a punch to the stomach. I knew I was putting our friendship on the back burner, but I couldn't stop. I was so focused on helping others that I didn't realize I was losing something precious. The community event I organized was a success, but the price I paid was high. The next day found me exhausted and emotionally drained. People came to thank me and share their stories, but I could hardly hear them. I wanted to feel the joy of connection, but all I felt was emptiness. The pressure to keep doing more and better suffocated me. It was at that moment that I received a message from Lisa, the nurse. She invited me to a support group for people going through grief and recovery. I hesitated, thinking I didn't have time for that, but something inside me knew I needed to hear other people's experiences. I decided to go, even if just to escape the pressure. Upon arrival, I realized the atmosphere was welcoming. The stories I heard were a relief for my soul. Each person shared their struggles and victories, and for the first time in a long time, I felt that I wasn't alone. But after a few meetings, the pain resurfaced. I couldn't ignore that I was seeking validation from others while fighting against my own insecurities. One night, while reflecting on all of this, I received an unexpected phone call. It was my dad. His trembling voice made me feel that something was wrong. "Marin, I need you. Your mom had another relapse." My heart sank. The pain of the memory of loss was back, more intense than ever. I had been so focused on helping others that I had ignored the fragility of my own family. What I had promised myself about not letting pain control me began to crumble. The following weeks were a whirlwind. I tried to balance my fight for traffic safety with visits to the hospital. Each visit was a painful reminder of what I had lost. The pressure became unbearable, and on one of those days, I broke down in tears in the waiting room. The fear of losing my mother again consumed me. I felt that the fight I was waging was insignificant compared to the battle my mother was facing. When I returned home, darkness seemed to follow me. I went to see Sorrel, hoping she could help me find a way. But instead of comfort, the conversation turned into an argument. "You can't just let this consume you, Marin. You need to live too." She was right, but I couldn't see it. My world was revolving around pain and loss, and I didn't know how to escape. The tension between us increased. In a moment of frustration, I shouted, "You don't understand. You don't know what it's like to lose someone you love." Sorrel fell silent, her expression one of pain and confusion. I realized I was pushing her away, which made me feel even more distressed. What I feared most was losing the people I loved, and ironically, I was doing just that. I decided I needed time to breathe. I stepped back from activism for a while, seeking a space where I could process my emotions. I started writing a journal. It was therapeutic, and each word seemed to help me better understand what was happening inside me. Writing about my mother, about the moments we shared, about the pain I felt, brought me a new perspective. Over time, I realized that to move forward, I needed to confront my fears. The first step was reconnecting with Sorrel. I scheduled a meeting, nervous but determined to open up. When we met, the tension was still present, but the love we had for each other was stronger. "I'm sorry for pushing you away," I said. I was lost and didn't know how to deal with all of this. Sorrel smiled, her eyes filled with understanding. "We're in this together, Marin. Always." From that moment on, I began to see the importance of balancing external struggle with internal care. Activism didn't need to be a competition with my personal life. I learned that both could coexist. Every story I heard, every experience I shared, could strengthen me and help me cope with the pain. The journey of recovery was not linear, and challenges still arose. But now, instead of letting them bring me down, I allowed myself to feel the pain, reflect on it, and then seek the light. Life wasn't about being perfect, but about being true. And as I continued to fight for traffic safety, I also fought for my own emotional sanity, learning with each step I took. That night, as I wrote in my journal, the words flowed like a turbulent river, washing away part of the pain that troubled me. But at the same time, I knew that something deeper needed to be confronted. My father's phone call still echoed in my mind, like a bell that wouldn't stop ringing. The image of my mother, fragile and vulnerable, haunted me. I was so caught up in trying to change the world outside that I had forgotten to take care of my own heart. It was then that I remembered something I had always believed: true strength is not in carrying burdens alone but in seeking support and connection. With this thought, I decided I needed to reconnect with Sorrel. But not just to apologize, I needed to open my heart, to show her not only the pain I was facing but also the desire to rebuild our friendship. When we arrived at the cafe, the place was empty, and the soft light from the lamps created a cozy atmosphere. Sorrel looked at me with a mix of expectation and concern. Before I could say anything, she broke the silence. "I noticed you were losing yourself, Marin. But I want you to know that I'm here, and I always will be." Her words touched my heart and filled me with a wave of gratitude. I began to speak, and tears streamed down my face. I talked about my mother, about the fear of losing her again, about how it made me close my eyes to what really mattered. Sorrel listened attentively, her eyes full of understanding. "I didn't want you to go through this alone," she said softly. "I'm here for you too." That conversation was a turning point. I realized that the pursuit of safety on the road and activism were not the only things that mattered. The love and connections we cultivate in our lives are equally vital. Activism could wait, I needed time to care for myself and the people I loved. With Sorrel's support, I began to reconnect with my family. I visited my mother in the hospital more often, not just to be a worried daughter but to be a presence that brought joy. I told her about the events I hadn't been able to attend, shared stories I heard in the support group. Sometimes, we would laugh together, and other times, I would see her close her eyes, lost in her own thoughts. This shared vulnerability brought a new light to our relationship, and I realized that even in the midst of pain, there was space for hope. However, even with these changes, doubt still tormented me. I had lost confidence in my ability to make a difference. The critical voices that were once mere murmurs now echoed like screams. "You can't do it, you're failing." These words became a weight I carried on my back, and with each passing day, I felt more paralyzed. To confront this, I decided to return to the support group. The stories I heard there were a powerful reminder that we all face challenges and that vulnerability is an essential part of life. It was on one of those nights that an older woman shared her struggle with the loss of a child in a car accident. Her pain was palpable, but what impacted me most was when she said, "I am not defined by my pain but by the ways I found to move forward." Her words were like a beam of light, illuminating the darkness that surrounded my thoughts. That night, I realized that the true measure of success was not how many people I could help alone but how I could transform my pain into something meaningful, something that could help heal others. This new perspective gave me a breath of hope. I didn't need to be perfect, I just needed to be real. When I returned home, I sat down in front of my journal and wrote, "Pain does not define me. My choices, my love, and my resilience are what truly matter." This realization brought me unexpected relief. I was beginning to understand that life was not about avoiding pain but about learning from it and using that experience to help others. With this new mindset, I returned to my activism, but with a lighter heart. I started getting involved in projects that not only promoted road safety but also provided emotional support to families affected by tragedies. I had found renewed purpose, a path that allowed me not only to fight for a cause but also to honor my mother's memory and help others on their own journeys. With each step I took, I felt stronger. The pain was still present, but now it was accompanied by a new understanding. I was not alone. Sorrel was by my side, and the connection we had became a source of strength. Life, with all its complexities, taught me that true courage is allowing myself to feel, to love, and above all, to start anew. And so, with an open heart and a clearer mind, I moved forward, determined to build a future not only for myself but for everyone who crossed my path. That night at the cafe with Sorrel was a turning point, but the following weeks brought a new wave of doubts that assaulted me like a storm. Each day, I woke up feeling like life was challenging me again. As I tried to find a new purpose amid the pain and uncertainty, the shadows of my past failures seemed to intensify, as if I were trapped in an endless cycle of insecurity. I returned to the support group, but now, instead of feeling the strength from shared experiences, I was overwhelmed by a sense of inadequacy. I watched as those people shared their stories of overcoming adversity, and in contrast, mine felt small, almost irrelevant. The voices criticized me, echoing in my mind. How could I consider myself a beacon of hope if I could barely illuminate my own path? One night, after another meeting, Sorrel invited me to take a walk in the park. The fresh air and soft light of the moon should have brought relief, but I was trapped in my thoughts. I confessed, I feel like I'm failing, as I stopped on a bench under a tree. If I can't cope with my own pain, how can I help others? She looked at me, her expression serious. Marin, facing pain doesn't mean you eliminate it. It's a process. You're doing that by opening up and connecting with people. No one expects you to be perfect. Her words were a balm, but doubt still lingered, like a shadow that wouldn't let me go. That same week, I received a call from the hospital. My mother was experiencing complications, and I felt my heart race. I rushed there, hoping that time hadn't stolen my chance to say goodbye. Upon entering the room, I saw her expression of pain and fragility, and all my internal struggle dissolved into tears. I didn't know what to say, so I just held her hand and let the words flow. I'm here, Mom. I'm here. She looked at me with a mix of love and concern, and in that moment, I understood that she was carrying her own battles too. Marin, she said in a weak voice, don't forget who you are. You've always been strong. Those words were like a call, a reminder that I shouldn't let myself be consumed by doubt. I left the hospital, determined to fight against the voices telling me I was weak. I started writing more in my journal, not just about the pain, but also about the small moments of joy that still existed. I remembered a sunny day when Sorrel and I laughed until our stomachs hurt, or the feeling of freedom while riding a bike with the wind in my face. Those memories were like anchors, reminding me that there was life beyond the pain. Then, on a rainy afternoon, something unexpected happened. A 10-year-old boy named Lucas approached me while I was at a traffic safety event. He was shy, but his eyes sparkled with curiosity. You're the woman who talks about people's safety, right? He asked. I felt a warmth in my heart. Yes, that's me, I replied, trying to smile. I think it's important, he said sincerely. One day, my dad explained to me how to drive carefully. He said you can save lives. Those words hit me like a punch in the stomach. I was searching for a purpose, and there it was, right in front of me. I was overcome with emotion, realizing that even amid my struggles, I could still impact lives, even if only in a small way. We talked for a while, and Lucas shared his own stories about riding his bike and the precautions he took while crossing the street. He didn't know it, but his words gave me a new focus. I didn't need to be perfect or have all the answers. I just needed to be real and willing to share what I had learned. As the weeks went by, my conversations with Lucas became more frequent. He reminded me of the power of small actions. So, I began working on talks at schools, not just about traffic safety, but about the importance of caring for one another. The kids were receptive, and I felt that I was doing something meaningful, not just for myself, but for them. Sorrel was by my side every step of the way. You're blossoming, Marin, she said one sunny afternoon as we walked through the park. Seeing you reconnect with your passion is amazing. I smiled, but a part of me still struggled with the feeling that everything could fall apart at any moment. In a more intimate conversation, I sat with Sorrel and shared these insecurities. What if I fail again? What if I can't make a difference? She looked into my eyes and, with the firmness I had always admired, said, failures are part of the process. Every mistake is a lesson. The important thing is that you don't give up on yourself. With each new talk, each new dialogue with Lucas, I felt more connected, not only to him but also to myself. I was learning that the scars we carry can become points of strength, and that vulnerability is a form of courage. My mother was still in the hospital, but with each visit, I saw her growing stronger. She began to respond to treatment, and I knew there was a greater purpose in all of this. The love and connection we shared became the light that guided us. I wasn't alone on this journey. The life lessons I was learning allowed me to honor my pain while also seeking healing. Life continued, full of challenges, but I was starting to understand that every step forward, no matter how small, was a sign of resilience. Pain and joy coexisted, and I was willing to embrace both. With Sorrel by my side and Lucas as a source of inspiration, I was ready to face whatever came my way, one day at a time. That night at the cafe with Sorrel was a turning point, but the following weeks brought a new wave of doubts that assailed me like a storm. Each day, I woke up feeling as though life was challenging me once again. As I tried to find a new purpose amidst the pain and uncertainty, the shadows of my past failures seemed to grow thicker, as if I were trapped in an endless cycle of insecurity. I returned to the support group, but this time, instead of feeling the strength of shared experiences, I was overwhelmed by a sense of inadequacy. I watched those people share their stories of overcoming struggles, and in contrast, mine felt small, almost irrelevant. You can't do it, the voices criticized, echoing in my mind. How could I consider myself a beacon of hope when I could barely light my own path? One night, after yet another meeting, Sorrel invited me to take a walk in the park. The fresh air and the soft moonlight should have brought relief, but I was trapped in my thoughts. I feel like I'm failing, I confessed, stopping on a bench under a tree. If I can't handle my own pain, how can I help others? She looked at me, her expression serious. Marin, facing pain doesn't mean you eliminate it. It's a process. You're doing it by opening up and connecting with people. No one expects you to be perfect. Her words were a balm, but doubt still lingered, like a shadow that wouldn't let go. That same week, I received a call from the hospital. My mother was experiencing complications, and I felt my heart race. I rushed there, hoping that time hadn't stolen my chance to say goodbye. Upon entering the room, I saw her expression of pain and fragility, and all my internal struggle unraveled into tears. I didn't know what to say, so I just held her hand and let the words flow. I'm here, Mom. I'm here. She looked at me with a mix of love and concern, and in that moment, I understood that she was also carrying her own battles. Marin, she said weakly, don't forget who you are. You've always been strong. Those words were like a call, a reminder that I shouldn't let myself be consumed by doubt. I left the hospital, determined to fight against the voices that told me I was weak. I began to write more in my journal, not just about the pain, but also about the small moments of joy that still existed. I remembered a sunny day when Sorrel and I laughed until our stomachs hurt, or the feeling of freedom while riding a bike, the wind in my face. Those memories were like anchors, reminding me that there was life beyond the pain. On a rainy afternoon, something unexpected happened. A 10-year-old boy named Lucas approached me while I was at a traffic safety event. He was shy, but his eyes sparkled with curiosity. You're the woman who talks about keeping people safe, right? He asked. I felt a warmth in my heart. Yes, that's me, I replied, trying to smile. I think it's important, he said sincerely. One day, my dad explained to me how to drive carefully. He said you can save lives. Those words hit me like a punch in the stomach. I was seeking a purpose, and there it was, right in front of me. I was overwhelmed with emotion, realizing that even amidst my struggles, I could still impact lives, even if just in a small way. We talked for a while, and Lucas shared his own stories about riding bikes and the precautions he took when crossing the street. He didn't know it, but his words gave me a new focus. I didn't need to be perfect or have all the answers. I just needed to be real and willing to share what I had learned. As the weeks went by, my conversations with Lucas became frequent. He reminded me of the power of small actions. So, I began to work on talks at schools, not just about traffic safety, but about the importance of caring for one another. The kids were receptive, and I felt like I was doing something meaningful, not just for myself, but for them. Sorrel was by my side every step of the way. "You're blossoming, Marin," she said on a sunny afternoon as we walked through the park. "Seeing you reconnect with your passion is amazing." I smiled, but a part of me still struggled with the feeling that everything could collapse at any moment. In a more intimate conversation, I sat with Sorrel and shared these insecurities. What if I fail again? What if I can't make a difference? She looked me in the eyes and, with the firmness I had always admired, said, "Failures are part of the process. Every mistake is a lesson. What matters is that you don't give up on yourself." With each new talk, each new dialogue with Lucas, I felt more connected, not only to him but to myself as well. I was learning that the scars we carry can become points of strength, and that vulnerability is a form of courage. My mother was still in the hospital, but with each visit, I saw her growing stronger. She began to respond to treatment, and I knew there was a greater purpose in all of this. The love and connection we shared became the light guiding us. I wasn't alone on this journey. The life lessons I was learning allowed me to honor my pain while also seeking healing. Life continued, full of challenges, but I was beginning to understand that every step forward, no matter how small, was a sign of resilience. Pain and joy coexisted, and I was willing to embrace both. With Sorrel by my side and Lucas as a source of inspiration, I was ready to face whatever came my way, one day at a time. With each passing day, the feeling that I was on the brink of collapse grew stronger. The pressure to be an example, to share my story of overcoming adversity, weighed on me like an anchor. I was starting to feel that my internal struggle was a burden not only for myself but also for those around me. Sorrel, Lucas, my mother, they all believed in me, but I was struggling to find that belief within myself. One afternoon, as I prepared for a talk at a local school, my heart raced. The auditorium was filled with children, and their energy was contagious yet intimidating. Before stepping onto the stage, a wave of insecurity washed over me. What if I said something wrong? What if I couldn't connect with them? What if, deep down, I had nothing valuable to offer? I tried to focus on the words I had prepared, but my mind was engulfed in a whirlwind of doubts. I remembered the conversation I had with Sorrel, where she told me that failures are part of the process. But at that moment, all I could think about was my previous failure, the feeling of helplessness that overcame me when I couldn't help my mother as I wanted. The memory of her fragility made me hesitate. When I was finally called to the stage, the audience fell silent. I looked at the children, their faces full of expectation, and I felt like an imposter. I began, my voice trembling. "Today, I want to talk about road safety." The words came out, but not with the firmness I desired. Insecurity consumed me, and I was on the verge of being engulfed by shadows once again. Then, in the midst of the talk, something unexpected happened. Lucas, who was in the audience, raised his hand. "Hey, can you tell us what happened with your mom?" He looked at me with a sincerity that disarmed me. A heavy silence hung in the air, and I felt my heart tighten. The memory of her fragility, the nights in the hospital, all of it seemed to resurface. I took a deep breath, trying to gather courage. "Yes, of course, Lucas. My mother is facing an illness. It's difficult for me, but I've learned that facing pain doesn't mean you're weak. In fact, it's the opposite." A wave of emotion enveloped me, and tears threatened to spill. I realized that we can find strength in our struggles. And that even when everything seems lost, there is still space for hope. As I spoke, the tension in the auditorium began to shift. I saw the faces of the children, some with tears in their eyes, others with expressions of understanding. It was as if I was touching on something deep within them. The vulnerability I feared transformed into a bond of connection. And I want you to know that you are not alone. We all face challenges, and it's important to be there for each other. Deep down, I realized that I was confronting not only the fear of failure but also the fear of fully opening up. I had carried the pain for so long that I forgot what it was like to share vulnerability. And there, in front of that audience, I finally let the truth flow. We can be strong, even when we feel weak. And together, we can help each other find light in the shadows. When I finished the talk, applause echoed through the auditorium. The children were smiling, and Lucas looked at me with admiration. In that moment, I understood that my journey was not just about me. It was about all of us, the connections we form, and finding strength in vulnerability. I was not just a speaker, I was part of something bigger. On my way home, a sense of lightness enveloped me. I had faced my fears and, in doing so, discovered a new truth. Life is not perfect. It is full of ups and downs, and it is this imperfection that makes us human. The experiences I shared with my mother, with Sorrel, with Lucas, all of it shaped who I am. When I arrived at the hospital to see my mother, I found her more cheerful. The treatment was beginning to show results, and seeing her strength inspired me even more. "Mom," I said, holding her hand, "today I talk to children about how to face pain and find hope." Her expression lit up. "I always knew you had that within you." That night, as I wrote in my journal, I realized that the journey of overcoming is made up of small steps. True success is not in avoiding failures, but in learning from them and moving forward. And, more importantly, it is in remembering that we are not alone. Every connection we make teaches us something valuable, and every moment of vulnerability can become a point of strength. Now, more than ever, I was ready to face whatever came my way, one day at a time. Life would still bring challenges, but I was sure that the light I sought was within me, and that the courage to open up and be true to myself was the key to my transformation. That night was different. As I wrote in my journal, the pen seemed to glide more easily, as if the words wanted to break free from me. Looking at the blank page, I realized that each letter represented a new phase of my life, a new understanding of who I was and what I could be. The talk, Lucas's support, and my mother's strength had intertwined into something greater, something I was just beginning to grasp. What I had shared with the children was not just a message of hope, but also a reflection of what I was learning. True success was not about being perfect or never failing, it was about having the courage to open up, to show my weaknesses, and in doing so, create meaningful connections. This new understanding began to resonate within me, like a soft melody echoing in my mind. In the days that followed, I noticed how my outlook on life had changed. The little things that used to make me hesitate had now become opportunities. When Sorrel invited me for coffee, instead of worrying about what to say, I simply went with the flow of the conversation, laughing and sharing moments. Talking about my mother, about the challenges we were facing, became a natural part of who I am. And surprisingly, I realized that it didn't make me weaker, but stronger. Lucas also seemed closer. He started sending me supportive messages, asking how my mother was and how I was feeling. One day, while we were having a snack after school, he commented on the talk. "You really touched us. I never thought someone so strong could have struggles. That's cool, you know?" His words warmed my heart. It was as if, by opening up, I had allowed him to share his own insecurities too. The friendship we built was based on a new reality, that vulnerability is a strength. That same day, I received a call from the hospital. My mother was stable, and her treatment was progressing well. The news was a relief, but more than that, it gave me a new perspective. Her fight was not just about the illness, it was about life, about how to face challenges and come out stronger. I realized that, just like her, I was also on a path of overcoming. When I finally visited her again, I felt that something had changed between us. As we held hands, the connection we shared felt deeper. "Mom," I said, "I talked about you. About how strong you are and how that inspires me." She smiled, a smile full of love and understanding. "I always knew you had that strength in you. You just needed to find it." The conversation flowed naturally, and I shared the lessons I had learned from the talk. She listened intently, her eyes shining with pride. Each day, I felt like I was rebuilding myself. The interactions with the children I met at the talk became more frequent. Some of them started sending me messages, telling me how they were dealing with their own challenges. I realized that by opening my heart, I had created a safe space for others to do the same. The pain I carried was now transforming into a bridge, connecting me to so many people who, like me, were fighting in silence. Reflecting on all this, I realized that my journey was not just a personal struggle, but a path of collective learning. The failures I faced were not a sign of weakness, but an invitation to start anew. And each new beginning brought with it a new opportunity for growth. Life, with its complexities, became clearer to me. The truth is that we all face storms, but how we navigate through them defines our character. Over time, the lessons I learned began to manifest in my actions. I started to get more actively involved in the community, organizing gatherings and sharing stories of overcoming. My goal was not just to inspire, but also to create a welcoming space for those who felt lost, just as I had once felt. And so, amid all these changes, I realized that true wealth was not in material achievements, but in the shared experiences and connections I built along the way. Life is made up of moments of light and shadow, and each has its value. By accepting this, I finally allowed myself to be who I truly am, a person in constant evolution, ready to face whatever life throws my way, with an open heart and a receptive mind. Now, every step I take is a step toward authenticity. And looking back, I see that my journey of overcoming is not just about me, but about all those who crossed my path. I am excited to see where this new perspective will take me. After all, life goes on, and I am ready to embrace every chapter that is yet to come. In the months that followed, I had the chance to observe how my journey of overcoming shaped not only my life, but also the lives of those around me. Meetings with the children I met at the talk became a weekly ritual. Together, we created a small support group where we shared our experiences and learned from one another. I was surprised to realize how each of us had our own struggles, yet at the same time, we were all seeking a path to the light. These meetings showed me that vulnerability truly creates connections. One of the boys, Pedro, began to talk about the loss of his grandfather and how it had left him sad and confused. As I listened to his words, I realized that I was not alone. I too had lost important people in my life, and in that exchange of experiences, we found solace in each other. The pain that once felt isolating now became a strong bond that united our stories. Lucas's friendship also developed in unexpected ways. He became one of my biggest supporters, always present, encouraging me to move forward. During one of our meetings, he revealed that he was going through difficulties at home and that, for a time, he had felt lost. That moment of honesty between us was a turning point. Our conversations deepened, and together, we learned to see our weaknesses as essential parts of our growth. The connection we built was based on empathy, and each day I felt more grateful to have someone like him by my side. Over time, I realized that true wealth was not in having a closet full of clothes or a new phone. Wealth was in the memories we created together, in the laughter we shared, and in the tears we shed during difficult moments. This new perspective brought me an inner peace I had never felt before. Life continued to present challenges, but now I faced them with an open heart and a receptive mind. Reflecting on everything I had gone through, I realized how the lessons I learned became part of who I am. With each step I take, I carry with me the knowledge that failing is not an end, but a new beginning. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn and grow. This new mindset allowed me to explore paths I once thought impossible. I decided to get involved in community projects, seeking to help others find their voices and overcome their own struggles. One day, while organizing a fundraising event for a local shelter, I found myself surrounded by people who, like me, were committed to making a difference. This was a transformative moment. Looking around, I realized I was not alone. The stories of overcoming and resilience I heard that day intertwined with mine, creating a tapestry of love and solidarity. As a result of my journey, I also became a more aware person. I learned to appreciate the small moments in life, like a sunset, a cup of coffee shared with a friend, or a smile from a stranger. These moments, which had previously gone unnoticed, now remind me that the beauty of life lies in simple things. Life is made up of experiences, and I decided to live each one of them fully. The transformation that occurred within me had a lasting impact on my friendships and the people around me. The children who participated in the meetings began to open up, and I saw many of them flourish as they shared their stories. A girl, Julia, who always seemed shy, started to express herself artistically, creating drawings that depicted her emotions. Her art was a testament to the power of vulnerability and expression. As I continued to walk my path of self-discovery and overcoming, I realized that my relationship with my mother had also strengthened. Our conversations became deeper, and the connection we shared helped both of us cope with her illness in a lighter way. Together, we created new moments of joy and gratitude, turning each hospital visit into a celebration of life. Over time, the pain that once seemed unbearable transformed into a source of strength and inspiration. I learned to embrace the uncertainty of life, to understand that the ups and downs are inevitable parts of the journey. And so, each day, I allow myself to be who I am, a person in constant evolution, ready to face the challenges that life will still bring. Now, looking back, I see a journey filled with growth, learning, and connection. The journey of overcoming is not just mine, but that of everyone who walked alongside me. This collective growth taught me that we are all interconnected, that our stories intertwine, forming a network of support and love. And so, I move forward, excited to discover what more life has to offer, always with an open heart and a mind willing to learn. Looking back on my journey feels like flipping through a memory album, each page filled with moments that shaped me in ways I could never have imagined. The transformation I experienced was not limited to myself, it resonated with the people around me. The connection I built with those who share their life stories taught me that we all have something to offer, and that vulnerability can be a powerful agent of change. One day, while sitting with the children in the support group, Pedro remarked, "It's funny, I thought I was the only one feeling this pain." In that moment, I realized he was not alone. We all carry our pain in some way. The difference is that together, we find the strength to overcome it. When Julia began to show her drawings, her emotions coming to life in colors and shapes, I saw the beauty of the transformation we were all experiencing. Her gaze, once shy, now sparkled with confidence as she showed her creations. That made me understand that each of us has the power to create something beautiful from pain. Lucas's friendship, which blossomed amidst all the difficulties, became a fundamental pillar in my life. He once told me, I never thought I could have someone I really cared about. This connection made me realize that love and friendship are not just about happy moments, but also about being present during tough times. Through him, I learned that mutual support is one of the greatest gifts we can offer one another. My relationship with my mother, who faced so many challenges due to her illness, also transformed. During a visit to the hospital, she looked at me and said, "You have shown so much in the last few months, my daughter. I am so proud of you." These words touched my heart and reminded me that even amidst pain, we can find joy and gratitude. Together, we created a space where hope and love prevailed, turning each visit into a special moment. Reflecting on all of this, I have come to the conclusion that true wealth does not come from material possessions, but from the experiences and connections we cultivate throughout life. I learned to cherish the small moments, like a simple smile or a warm hug. These little things are what truly matter and make us feel alive. The journey has not been easy, but with each challenge I overcame, a new part of me emerged. Looking toward the future, I feel more confident and open to possibilities. I now realize that failing is not a sign of weakness, but an opportunity to start anew with greater wisdom. Life is a series of cycles, each bringing valuable lessons. In this new chapter of my life, I want to invite you to reflect on your own experiences. What have you learned in your moments of difficulty? How have your relationships changed over time? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your words may touch the heart of someone going through a similar struggle. Together, we can build a community of support and understanding. I believe that by sharing our stories, we create a space where vulnerability is valued and empathy becomes an act of love. So, if you felt touched by this journey, like this video and subscribe to the channel. By doing so, you not only help me continue bringing more inspiring content, but you also join a network of people seeking support and connection. Let's spread the message that overcoming and transformation are possible, and that together, we can face any challenge life presents. Life is an incredible journey, and I look forward to discovering what else is to come. With an open heart and a receptive mind, I move forward, ready to embrace each new experience, every new friendship, and each new lesson. After all, we are all part of a great tapestry of stories, and mine continues to intertwine with yours. What was the moment that moved you the most or made you reflect deeply? Please leave your thoughts in the comments, we really want to know your opinion. Share this story with friends and family who might connect with this powerful message of transformation and overcoming. Your comment and support make all the difference in our ability to continue bringing stories that inspire and touch the heart. If you know someone who will relate to this story, send them the video and help spread this chain of inspiration. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell to be the first to know about the next emotional stories. Thank you so much for watching, and see you on our next journey of reflection and emotion.